When I walked into my son David's home office looking for a pen, I never expected to find a document that would shatter my entire world. There it was, sitting right on top of his desk. Official medical letterhead, and my name printed across the top in bold letters. Patricia Morgan, patient psychiatric evaluation. I'm 70 years old. I've raised 2 children alone after my husband died of a heart attack when I was just 35. I worked as a school librarian for 40 years. I retired 5 years ago with a pension, savings, and a house I'd paid off through decades of careful budgeting and sacrifice. I wasn't snooping. At least, that's what I told myself as I picked up that letter. But when you see your own name on a medical document in your son's office, a document you've never seen before, you read it. My hands started shaking before I even finished the first paragraph. Dear Mr. David Morgan, as per your request, we have completed the comprehensive cognitive assessment of your mother. Patricia Ann Morgan, DOB, March 15, 1954. Our findings are consistent with progressive dementia, early to moderate stage. Mrs. Morgan exhibits significant memory impairment, confusion about time and place, difficulty managing financial affairs, and reduced capacity for independent decision-making. It's our professional recommendation that Mrs. Morgan is probable cause. Morgan is no longer competent to manage her own affairs and would benefit from immediate conservatorship proceedings to ensure her safety and financial security. Please contact our office to discuss next steps regarding placement in a supervised care facility. Sincerely, Dr. James Fletcher, MD, PhD, Director, Neuropsychology Associates, Cognitive Disorders Specialist. I read it 3 times. Then I read it again. Dementia, progressive, not competent, supervised care facility. But I had never seen a Dr. James Fletcher in my life. I had never been to any neuropsychology associates. I had never taken any cognitive assessment. I'm 70 years old. Sometimes I forget where I put my reading glasses. Sometimes I walk into a room and forget why I went there. Sometimes I can't remember the name of that actor in that movie we watched last month. But dementia? I remember every birthday in my family going back 50 years. I remember my grandchildren's teachers' names and their best friends' names. I balance my checkbook to the penny every month. I read 3 books a week, and I can discuss them in detail. I do the New York Times crossword puzzle every Sunday. I volunteer at the library and help seniors with computer classes. Does that sound like someone with dementia? My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might be having a heart attack right there in David's office. I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers and took a photo of the letter. Then I carefully placed it back exactly where I found it. That's when I noticed the folder underneath it. A thick manila folder with a label written in David's handwriting. Mom, conservator. Documents, private. I opened it. Inside were more letters, more evaluations, more reports. All dated over the past 6 months. All from doctors whose names I'd never heard. All saying variations of the same thing. Patricia Morgan is incompetent. Patricia Morgan cannot manage her affairs. Patricia Morgan needs a legal guardian. There was a letter from a Dr. Susan Chen, geriatric psychiatrist, describing my paranoid delusions. There was a report from a Dr. Michael Rodriguez, neurologist, detailing my significant cognitive decline. There was an evaluation from a Dr. Patricia Williams, clinical psychologist, recommending immediate intervention for the patient's safety. I had never met any of these people. I had never been evaluated by any of these doctors. These were complete fabrications, but they looked so official. Professional letterhead, medical jargon, signatures, date stamps. They looked absolutely real. I kept digging through the folder, my hands shaking more with each page. Bank statements, my bank statements, printed out and highlighted. Someone had been tracking my spending, my savings, my investments, a property appraisal of my house, the 3-bedroom home I'd lived in for 35 years, where I'd raised my children, where every room held memories of my late husband. Current market value, $680,000. Tax documents, insurance policies, investment account statements showing $240,000 in retirement savings. And then I found it. The document that made everything crystal clear. A draft legal petition. Petition for appointment of conservator for Patricia Ann Morgan, an incapacitated person. The petition requested that David Morgan be appointed as conservator with full legal authority over financial assets, property, medical decisions, and living arrangements of the proposed conservatee. At the bottom of the draft, there was a handwritten note. David's handwriting. I recognized it immediately. The same handwriting I'd seen on birthday cards and thank you notes for 45 years. Lawyer says once petition filed, Mom has 10 days to contest. At her age plus doctor reports, judge will likely side with us. After approval, 1. Transfer house deed immediately. 2. Access all bank accounts. 3. Liquidate investments. 4. Shady Pines deposit $8,000 for first month. Get Mom moved in before she realizes what's happening. I sat down in David's office chair because my legs wouldn't hold me anymore. Shady Pines. I knew that name. It was a nursing home on the edge of town. The cheap one. The one where you heard horror stories about neglect and abuse. The one where people went to die forgotten. My son was planning to have me declared mentally incompetent, take control of all my assets, steal my house, and lock me away in a terrible nursing home. And he was going to do it with fake medical documents. I sat there for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, trying to process what I was seeing. My baby boy. The child I had sacrificed everything for. The little boy who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. The teenager I'd worked 2 jobs to send to college. The man who called me every Sunday and said, "I love you, Mom." He was trying to steal everything from me and lock me away. But why? I kept searching through the documents, and then I found another handwritten note. This one, not from David. Different handwriting. Feminine. Sharp, angular letters. David, Dad already agreed. He'll get his $300K. We get house plus her savings. Clean split. She'll be gone in Shady Pines. Won't even know what happened. Finally getting what we're owed for putting up with her all these years. Lisa. Wisa, my daughter. Both of my children were in on it. Together. They'd planned this. Probably for months. Maybe longer. And Dad, that had to be my ex-brother-in-law, Tom, my late husband's brother. The executor of my husband's life insurance policy that had provided the initial down payment on this house 35 years ago. Tom had always felt entitled to that money, had always claimed my husband would have wanted him to have it instead of me. I took photos of everything, every fake medical report, every bank statement, every note, the legal petition, everything. My hands were shaking so badly some of the photos came out blurry, but I kept taking them until I had documented every single page in that folder. Then I carefully put everything back exactly as I'd found it, closed the folder, placed it under the letter, and walked out of that office. I found the pen I'd come looking for in the kitchen. David and Lisa were in the living room with David's wife Karen and Lisa's husband Mike. They were having coffee and laughing about something. A normal family scene. Found it, I said brightly, holding up the pen. Thanks for letting me search. I'm always losing things. Getting forgetful in my old age, I laughed. I watched them exchange glances. Lisa smiled at David. David nodded almost imperceptibly at Karen. They thought I was playing into their narrative. Poor confused mom. So forgetful. Losing things, admitting she's getting senile. No problem, Mom, David said warmly. You know you're welcome here anytime. Actually, I've been meaning to talk to you about something. Do you have a few minutes? This was it. They were going to start the process. Probably suggest I see a doctor about my forgetfulness. probably have me talk to their carefully selected, fake Dr. Fletcher, who would rubber stamp their diagnosis. "Oh, I'd love to, honey, but I have my book club in an hour," I lied smoothly. "How about we have dinner next week? Just you and me?" "Sure, Mom. That sounds great." I kissed them all goodbye, got in my car, and drove home on autopilot. When I got to my house, my beautiful house that I'd worked 40 years to pay for, I sat in the driveway and cried. I cried for the children I thought I had raised. I cried for the trust that had been shattered. I cried for the cruelty of my own babies trying to steal from me and lock me away. But I only let myself cry for 10 minutes. Because after 10 minutes, the sadness transformed into something else. Something harder, something colder. Rage. They thought I was a confused old woman. They thought I was easy to manipulate, easy to steal from, easy to discard. They were about to learn exactly how wrong they were. The next morning, I called my best friend Eleanor. Eleanor and I had been friends since our children were in elementary school together. She was a retired attorney, sharp as a tack at 72. "Eleanor," I said, "I need a lawyer. Not you. Someone who specializes in elder law and has experience with conservatorship cases. And I need someone my children don't know." "What's going on, Patricia?" I told her everything. Showed her the photos on my phone. Watched her face transform from concern to shock to fury. "Patricia, this is elder abuse, financial exploitation, fraud, possibly conspiracy. Your children could go to prison for this." "Good," I said. "Get me that lawyer." Eleanor made a call. 2 hours later, I was sitting in the office of Margaret Chen, a 50-year-old attorney who specialized in elder rights and had prosecuted dozens of cases of family financial exploitation. Margaret listened to my story without interrupting. She reviewed every photo I'd taken. She made notes on a legal pad. "Mrs. Morgan," she said finally, "what your children are attempting is more common than you might think. Adult children trying to get control of elderly parents' assets through fraudulent conservatorship proceedings. But this case is particularly egregious because of the fake medical documentation." "How is that possible? Dr. Rodriguez, they're probably real doctors. Your children may have paid them to write these evaluations without ever actually examining you. Or, more likely, these are completely fabricated documents with forged signatures. Either way, it's fraud. What do I do?" Margaret smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who loved taking down bad guys. "We do several things. First, you immediately get your own genuine cognitive evaluation from a real, independent doctor. We document that you are completely competent. Second, we secure your assets. We open new bank accounts they don't know about and transfer your funds. We record the deed to your house to protect it. Third, we gather evidence. We find out if these doctors are real and if they were paid to write false reports. And fourth, we wait for them to file their petition, and then we destroy them in court." "How long will this take?" "Based on the note you found, they're planning to file soon. Conservatorship hearings usually happen within 30 days of filing. So we have maybe 6 weeks to prepare. Let's do it." Over the next 3 weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. I smiled at David and Lisa. I played the part of the slightly confused elderly mother. I asked them to repeat things. I forgot appointments. I left lights on. I misplaced my purse. And they ate it up. "Mom's really declining." I heard Lisa tell David on the phone one evening when I was visiting, and they didn't know I could hear them. Last week, she forgot what day it was. Today, she asked me the same question 3 times. "I think we need to move faster." "Lawyer says everything's ready to file," David replied. "We're doing this next Monday." Monday. I had 4 days. Meanwhile, Margaret Chen had been busy. I'd undergone a comprehensive cognitive evaluation with Dr. Robert Martinez. a respected neuropsychologist at the University Medical Center. The evaluation took 6 hours over 2 days. Memory tests, problem-solving exercises, cognitive assessments, the works. Dr. Martinez's report was unequivocal. Mrs. Patricia Morgan demonstrates cognitive function well within normal limits for her age. Memory, executive function, and decision-making capacity are all intact. No evidence of dementia, cognitive impairment, or reduced capacity. Mrs. Morgan is fully competent to manage her own affairs. We'd also discovered something interesting about the fake medical reports. Margaret had contacted Dr. James Fletcher at Neuropsychology Associates. He existed, but when Margaret's investigators showed him the report with his signature, he was shocked. "I never wrote this," Dr. Fletcher said. "I've never seen this patient. Someone forged my signature and used my letterhead." Same with Dr. Chen and Dr. Rodriguez. Real doctors, forged signatures, fake reports. Margaret filed a complaint with the medical board and the police. An investigation was opened into who had created these documents. And then, on Monday morning, just as David had said, the petition was filed. Petition for appointment of conservator for Patricia Ann Morgan, an incapacitated person. The hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. I didn't tell David and Lisa that I knew about the petition. I let them think they had successfully deceived me. They actually called me that evening, their voices full of fake concern. "Mom, we need to talk to you about something important," David said. "Can we come over?" "Of course, honey. Is everything okay?" They came over an hour later. David, Lisa, Karen, Mike, all 4 of them, presenting a united front. "Mom," David began, sitting next to me on the couch and taking my hand. "We've been worried about you. You've been forgetting things, getting confused. We think you need to see a doctor." "A doctor? Why? I feel fine." "Mom, you've been declining," Lisa said gently. "Last week, you forgot what day it was. You've been repeating yourself. We're worried about your safety." "We actually already found a great doctor for you," Karen added. "Dr. Fletcher. He specializes in memory issues. He has an appointment available this Friday." Dr. Fletcher, the fake doctor whose signature they'd forged on fake reports. "We also need to talk about your finances," David continued. "It might be time to let me help you manage things, just to make sure bills get paid on time, that kind of thing. And we've been looking at some really nice retirement communities," Lisa added. "Places where you'd have help if you need it. We actually have some brochures." "Shady Pines?" I asked innocently. David's face went white. "How did you—" "I found your folder, David," I said, my voice no longer sweet and confused. "I found all of it. The fake medical reports, the conservatorship petition, the plans to steal my house and lock me away. I found everything." The room went silent. 4 faces stared at me in shock. "Mom, you're confused," David started. "I'm not confused." My voice was sharp now. "I took photos of everything in your office 3 weeks ago. I have a real cognitive evaluation from a real doctor showing I'm completely competent. I have a lawyer. And you're all going to prison for elder abuse and fraud." "You can't prove anything," Lisa said, but her voice was shaking. "I can prove everything. I have photos of the fake medical reports with forged doctor signatures. I have your handwritten notes planning to steal my assets. I have documentation of every bank account and property record you pulled without my permission. You're done." David stood up, his face red with anger now. "That money is rightfully ours. You're going to die soon anyway. And we're supposed to just wait? We've put up with you for years." "I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request. I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request. I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request." She had a reputation for being tough but fair. David's lawyer went first. He painted a picture of a declining, elderly woman who could no longer care for herself. He submitted the fake medical reports as evidence. He called no witnesses, probably because he couldn't call the fake doctors who would have to commit perjury. Then it was Margaret's turn. "Your Honor," she began. This is not a case of a family trying to help a declining parent. This is a case of two adult children attempting to steal their mother's assets through fraud. She submitted Dr. Martinez's evaluation, showing I was completely competent. She submitted statements from 3 of the doctors whose signatures had been forged, all saying they'd never examined me and never written the reports. She submitted evidence that David had illegally pulled my financial records without authorization. She submitted copies of the handwritten notes outlining their plan, and then she called me to testify. I stood up, walked to the witness stand, and placed my hand on the Bible. For 45 minutes, I answered questions. I recited my grandchildren's birthdays, their schools, their teachers' names. I discussed the books I'd read in the past month. I solved math problems. I explained my retirement investment strategy. I demonstrated that my mind was not only intact but sharp. And then Margaret asked the final question. "Mrs. Morgan, why do you think your children filed this petition?" I looked directly at David and Lisa. Because they want my money. They want my house. They're tired of waiting for me to die. So they decided to have me declared insane and lock me away so they could take everything. David's lawyer objected. The judge overruled him. "Your Honor," Margaret continued, "we'd also like to submit evidence that this is part of a larger pattern. We believe the individuals who created these fake medical documents have done this before. We've identified at least 12 other families where similar forged documents were used in conservatorship cases. The district attorney's office has opened a criminal investigation." Judge Stone reviewed the documents in silence for what felt like an eternity. Finally, she looked up. "This is one of the most disturbing cases I've seen in 20 years on the bench," she said. "Mrs. Morgan is clearly competent. The medical evidence submitted by the petitioners is fraudulent. The petition is denied." She turned to David and Lisa. "You should both be ashamed of yourselves. You attempted to steal from your own mother, to rob her of her freedom and dignity, to lock her away so you could take what she worked her entire life to build. I'm referring this case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Bailiff, please escort the petitioners out." I watched my children leave the courtroom. David wouldn't look at me. Lisa shot me one last look of pure hatred. I felt nothing but relief. That was 3 years ago. David and Lisa were charged with elder abuse, attempted fraud, and conspiracy. They took plea deals, 3 years probation, $50,000 in fines, and court-ordered therapy. They avoided prison, but they didn't avoid consequences. The fake document ring was more extensive than anyone had realized. A paralegal named Robert Chen had been creating fake medical reports for families who wanted to gain control of elderly relatives' assets. He was working with 2 actual doctors who would sign the reports without ever examining the patients. For a fee, of course, 12 families had used these fake documents to steal from elderly parents and grandparents. Millions of dollars had been stolen. Robert Chen and the 2 doctors went to prison. The families who hired them faced civil and criminal charges. My children lost everything. David's wife, Karen, divorced him. Lisa's husband, Mike, left her and took their kids. Neither of them could find decent jobs with their criminal records. They lost their houses when they couldn't pay the fines and legal fees. They tried to reach out to me several times in the first year, apologizing, begging for forgiveness, asking for money. I never responded. Some betrayals are too deep to forgive. Some wounds don't heal. And some people show you exactly who they are. And you'd be a fool to ignore it. I'm 73 years old now. I still live in my house. I still do the crossword puzzle every Sunday. I still volunteer at the library. I still have coffee with Eleanor every Tuesday. I changed my will. Everything goes to charity when I die. My house will be sold and the money donated to organizations that protect elderly people from financial abuse. David and Lisa will get nothing. Not because I'm cruel, but because they already showed me what they'd do with an inheritance. They'd waste it. They'd squander it. They'd use it in all the wrong ways, just like they tried to use me. Last month, I got a letter from David. He's 47 now. The letter was long, rambling, and full of excuses. But there was one line that stood out. I realize now that we didn't just try to steal your money. We tried to steal your dignity, your freedom, your right to live your own life. I'm sorry, Mom. I hope someday you can forgive me. I read that letter twice. Then I threw it away. Because here's what I learned. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. My children showed me that when I was at my most vulnerable, aging, alone, trusting them. They chose to exploit me rather than protect me. That's not a mistake. That's a character flaw. I have friends who say I should give them another chance. Friends who say family is forever. Friends who say forgiveness is healing. But I've healed just fine without them. My name is Patricia Morgan. I'm 73 years old. 3 years ago, my own children tried to have me declared insane so they could steal everything I'd worked for and lock me away in a nursing home. They failed. Because being older doesn't mean being weak. Being trusting doesn't mean being stupid. And being a mother doesn't mean letting your children destroy you. I'm proof that you can fight back. I'm proof that the system can work if you have evidence and courage. I'm proof that older women are not easy targets. We're survivors, we're fighters, and we're a lot smarter than our children think we are. If you liked my story, you can support me by making a donation so I can write more stories. Thank you in advance. And you, what would you do in this person's place?